Okay, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is the SFC Record Club vlog number 14, and this is our first movie discussion, right? I'm your host, David, and today I'm welcoming two special guests. Jingwei is coming in from China. Good morning, Jingwei.
Hi. Good morning.
Okay, and Elle is coming in from America, North Carolina, right? The previous evening. Okay. So, so let's see. Today we are talking about do, 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 David Lynch's 1990 movie. First, I'll give you this screen, SFC Record Club vlog. And we're talking about his 1990 movie, Wild at Heart, okay, starring Nicolas Cage and Laura Dern, right? And yeah, this movie came out when I was 18 years old. It came out the month that I started university. So for me, it's a very nostalgic movie and a movie I connected with at that time. And yeah, sometimes I play this clip in the record club, just this 15-second clip of Sailor and Lula, the two main characters of the movie drive. It's a road movie, right? Driving along the highway. It's just a 15-second clip that I loop and play in slow motion. And yeah, Sailor's a very expressive driver. They're kind of rocking out to a song in this clip, so I think it's kind of fun. But and let's see. So Al, I know you've watched this movie a few times and you've been to a library group discussion of the movie. So what are your thoughts on Wild at Heart?
I feel like I love it more than I should. Based on like what people said at the library discussion, a lot of people were like, I don't know how to feel about this movie," but I enjoyed it. And maybe it's just because like the visuals are amazing and the songs are amazing. And there's just a certain charm to it, so I really enjoy it.
Hmm. And you've seen it what 3 or 4 times, you said.
Yeah.
Okay. And Jinwei, I know you recently watched it for the first time. How do you feel about it?
Um, I wouldn't say like I'm a big fan of it, but I would say like I did had some fun when watching it. It was like I would say it's enjoyable, but I wouldn't say it's like one of my favorite movie or anything like that. But yeah, I also like the whole visual and the aesthetics thing of the movie.
Hmm. So when you say the aesthetics of the movie, like what are you talking about exactly?
Just basically because I really like how I think I like those like 80s, 90s road trip movie and just how people behave and like how they dress and yeah, so I think it's generally like still the visual part.
Hmm. Okay. Al, do you agree with that? You think the visuals are important?
Yeah, I mean, first off, just because they look cool, and then also, in every little scene, you can digest what's in the frame and really get into it. And also, the outfits are always cool, especially Lula's, little leotard things. Those are wacky but cool looking. I guess that's what you could say about the whole movie. It's a bit wacky but cool looking.
Hmm. Okay. And let's see, just to orient viewers. So it was, yeah, released in 1990. It's David Lynch. Okay. Um, and in addition to Nicolas Cage, Laura Dern, we also have a young Willem Dafoe in this. Crispin Glover, right? Famous from Back to the Future. George McFly, right? Does a very memorable appearance in this. The great Harry Dean Stanton, right? Plays Johnny. Um, Laura Dern's mother, Diane Ladd, actual real life mother, Diane Ladd, plays her mother in the movie. also very memorable, dynamic performance. And okay, so at this point in David Lynch's career, right, he had achieved some acclaim and fame through Eraserhead, The Elephant Man. Uh, Dune was considered kind of a misstep, but then like Blue Velvet was um, a great success for him, at least a great critical success, and really made, all eyes were on David Lynch after Blue Velvet, right? So this was his follow-up to that, right? Wild at Heart, 1990, and it was the same year he started the Twin Peaks TV series. Okay, so there was a lot going on for David Lynch at this time, and Nicolas Cage was kind of a rising star at the time. So let's see. Elle, can you tell us about this jacket that you designed in honor of Wild at Heart?
Well, if anyone's seen the movie or even just heard of the movie, one of the quotes that you always hear is about snakeskin jacket that sailor wears to represent, his individuality and belief in personal freedom. And I thought that's a fun little line. And I like expressing myself through clothing, but a snakeskin jacket is really expensive and it wouldn't be much of my individuality if I just copied the character. So I decided, oh, I'm gonna get a denim jacket for real cheap at like the Goodwill bins. So I got it for like 20 cents and then I just slapped paint and Mod Podge and made some custom pins for it. And I even wore it to the little library discussion and people really liked it, so that was nice.
Yeah, I like the idea of you wearing this to the library discussion.
I
Um,
even got a compliment on it by someone who wasn't there for the discussion. They were just like, "Oh, I like your jacket." And I said, "Thank you. It represents a symbol of my individuality and belief in personal freedom." And I don't think they knew what the quote was, but they were like, "Yeah, sure, yeah,
they should know what the quote was, so shame on them,
yeah."
right? Uh, okay, and you've also done some visual art related to the movie, right? And this incorporates the rainbow and the Wizard of Oz theme, right? So yeah, can you say a bit about this?
I mean, we talked a bit about how visuals are really appealing, and I thought one of the best parts about, the visual identity of this movie is the use of color. And rainbows are really, somewhere over the rainbow that's really prevalent in Wizard of Oz. And David Lynch definitely jams Wild at Heart full of Wizard of Oz references and parallels. So I thought, why not sort of put those two ideas together? And I also thought, in the movie, there's moments where there's these shots of the yellow lines on the highway,
Hmm.
and I immediately made the connection of, oh, like the yellow brick road. So I thought I would put that in there as well, like the I-40, which is the highway that goes from the East Coast because they start in North Carolina and then they want to go to California. So I thought it was just a cool little connection.
And Lynch does that in his other movies, like in Lost Highway, he does that too. And I'm guessing in other like he likes showing that angle. So it's cool. Um, okay, and here, what's going
I
on with
actually
the halo?
I made two. I did the drawing of Sailor and Lula, and then I made two sort of poster designs, which you'll see the next one on the next slide, I guess. But
Hmm.
there's a lot of cigarettes in the movie, and fire's a really prevalent theme and all that sort of stuff. So I wanted to definitely feature that in a poster design that I made. And I don't know, I just thought the halo looked really cool.
Mm,
And then in this one, the font I used is the font that was used on the original poster of Wizard of Oz. And I
nice.
thought that's a nice little detail that goes in there. Um, I thought, why not make two different designs, see what people like more? Because I
Mm.
printed these out and also brought them to the library event.
Oh yeah. So what kind of reaction did you get from them?
Well, people liked it. They were like, "Oh, who did they are?" I was like, And they were like, wow. And I think they were more of the I think they were people took more of the other design because I could see like the stacks of paper. I think more people took this design than the other one.
Oh, you printed it out and let people take them.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, cool. Uh yeah, they look amazing. There's when you were talking about how much they smoke in the movie. I liked the scene when Sailor finds out Lulu's pregnant and he lights two cigarettes at the same time. Yeah, it's good stuff. And I'll direct viewers to this clip of yours. We won't watch it now, but you did a short video tribute featuring the music of Liz Phair, right? Celebrating Wild at Heart, right? Hmm. Again, very nice, nicely done. Okay. Um, okay. So let's see. Shall we get into a bit of a character discussion? Yeah. Okay. So, so Jinwei, maybe if I could get some of your thoughts on Sailor Ripley, played by Nicolas Cage.
Well, I just felt like he's a really like a typical tough guy figure in those movie and I think I personally I'm not a really big fan of this character because I don't know because firstly I don't like those tough guy characters and he's just so typical. So yeah, that's kind of my idea on him.
Hmm. Okay, let's see. Al, what are your thoughts on Sailor?
I mean, kind of similar in the way that I feel he's very archetypal, stereotypical of what people imagine when they think of a cool bad boy, especially with that little Elvis impersonation he does. Um, and I think there are some scenes where he's really fun, like the opening scene where he does that really aggressive point, and also both the scenes where he does the Elvis covers. But I think like compared to some of the other characters, he's a bit not bland, but just very you can expect what he does a lot of the time. Maybe not his physical movements, like you're not going to anticipate him doing that backflip out of the car, but the way he reacts to things is very mundane and basic. So I think, I mean, he's fun at the surface level, but not the most interesting in my opinion.
Hmm. Like in a way, the character doesn't have a lot of depth to him, right? He's just Sailor. But I don't know. When I think about the character and the performance, I mean, like I really enjoy the performance, right? So I mean, I think rather than being a character that has a really like fascinating backstory or anything, I think it's just a vehicle for like Cage to just deliver this over the top performance. So that's why I'm definitely a fan of this character, right? Um, so let's see, Jinwei, can you when you say like do you feel differently about the character and the performance, or do you think they're kind of interlocked? Like what do you think his I mean, I think the way he plays it is a bit of a caricature of the archetype. Do you agree with that?
Hmm, I guess. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Al, any thoughts on that angle?
I mean, yeah, I feel like all the characters sort of overinflate what you're used to in movies because instead of just, having I guess this is just one example, instead of having just like a leather jacket and looking all tough, he has this absurd snakeskin jacket that even other like people are like, you look like a clown in that.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and sort of it's like, he's owning that
that archetype, in a fun way. And I feel like if it was Sailor, when I first like think of him, yeah, is bland a bit, but I think if another actor portrayed him, he would be even more forgettable. Like he would actually be forgettable if there weren't those little like touches of Nicolas Cage, which one of those is the snakeskin jacket, because that's not a part of the book. And that was something Nick Cage brought to the set and was like, I want to use this.
Hmm. So he brings a lot of individuality to the character, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. And Jinwei, you had thoughts on Lula from our last discussion, right? What would you like to say about Lula?
Well, I think comparing with Sailor, Luna is a character like I feel like she's more complicated, but there's also like I feel like how Lynch portrays her also like there's like two aspects. I feel like when with Sailor, she's still like I remember like saying last time like they two are like a really typical like couple in those kind of movie. So I feel like when she's with Sailor, I still feel like she's um like kind of like a traditional like not traditional but like typical like wife figure in the movie, which she's always like loving and forgiving and waiting for Sailor. But I think how like the part how she handles her personal trauma and also like the parts like the scene was like she was Bobby Peru. I feel like in that part she's like a more interesting female character.
Hmm. Okay. All right. L, what are your thoughts on Lula?
I love her. She's one of my favorite characters in this. And I feel like she definitely is the main character, and I feel like we do see the movie from her lens, like from her perspective. And I think that's one of the main reasons she's so compelling is because we have all this context. Like we see her personal trauma and her past, and we see how it weaves into the story. Um, and also Laura Dern's performance is great. Like I love it. I just love it.
Hmm.
Um, and I think it is interesting to see sort of these parts where Lula is trying to be like the typical like what she thinks a young woman should be, which is like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go dancing, I'm gonna ha look a certain way. And then there's these moments where you see she sort of breaks and she's sort of like, what is my life? Especially like with a car crash scene and all that. So I think she's interesting and also a beautiful performance.
Yeah, we really learn a lot more about her than we do Sailor, right? Because for one thing, we see her mother, right? And
Whereas he has a lack of parental guidance.
yes, yeah, 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 and just those disturbing stories she tells about her past, right? So we do get a lot more insight into who she is and her past and her family than we do Sailor, right? So, hmm. Okay, we'll just maybe quickly. How about them? Them as a couple, right? Are they good for each other? Are they good together? What do you think, Jinwei?
Um, I think I basically like agree with what we talked about last time. Like Sailor doesn't necessarily is like has to be a good influence, but she like he's what Lula wants. Like Lula doesn't want the like the good influence. So yeah,
She's looking for a bad influence, maybe.
maybe.
What do you think, Al?
I mean, yeah, and we talked about this last time where it's like because Sailor is that very typical bad boy, um, it's what attracts Lula to him, and she's even the one who's like, "Oh, you were in prison for 2 years," and he's like, "Oh, it was 23 months." And she's like, "Oh, you're a murderer." And he's like, "No, honey, I'm just a manslaughterer." So I almost feel like maybe, maybe in an alternate world, Lula could be with someone who's just, very straight edge, very straight-laced personality, and that could be a good influence. But I sort of see Sailor as like harm reduction almost because he has these like traits of a bad boy, but he's not actively harming her, whereas there's other characters like Bobby Peru who is like a bad person through and through. Like there's no redeeming parts of him. And you can sort of see Lula gets attracted to like the outward appearance of, of a rebel. Um and that could cause her a lot of harm, but I think Sailor is an example of he's not a good influence, but he is what she wants and not harming her actively. So
Hmm. Okay, and let's see, moving on to Lula's mama, right? Marietta Fortune, played by Laura Dern's real life mother, Diane Ladd, um, and her boyfriend, Johnny Farragut, played by Harry Dean Stanton, a David Lynch regular. Um, so what did you guys think of this couple? Okay, so and of course, Marietta hates Sailor. She does not like the two of them together. Blah, blah, blah. So let's see, Jinwei, what did you think? Why does Marietta hate Sailor so much? Or what did you think about her performance?
I think her performance was really good, and I really enjoyed a lot when watching like either like her performance or like the scene where like she's with Johnny. I feel like that's a really interesting part, like how I see like the power imbalance between them and everything. It's just it kind of contradicts with like the normal couples. For example, in like I feel like Sailor and Lula, like they're like actually really different. So I I like watching like Marietta and Johnny together.
So what do you mean by power imbalance?
I mean like Marietta is obviously like giving orders and just told Johnny like to do this and do that. And sometimes like even when Johnny doesn't want to do it, like for some reason, I think probably because he wants, I don't know, he like perhaps like he wants to like stay with her or something like that. He used to do it even though like he doesn't want to do it.
Hmm, okay. So you
Mm,
think she's kind of manipulating him?
maybe.
Hmm, okay. All right. Let's see. Elle, what are your thoughts on this couple?
one of my favorite things are their names because Marietta, her last name is Fortune, so she gets called Miss Fortune. And then
Ah,
Johnny's last name is such an opposition to that because it's the word fair and the word good, sort of. So it's like he's very like um just sort of unknowing and sort of like naive to what Marietta's true intentions are. And that could be like he really doesn't know, he's really like incompetent, but I think it's more like he ignores the crazy signs that she puts out because he's like, well, I love her and she must love me, right? And I really do love Diane Ladd's performance, and I think that's one of the things that everybody loves is she's really cat-like in the way that she moves, and also she has those crazy nails and the really big hair and the lipstick, which the lipstick at one point in the movie goes all over the place. Um, and then I wanted to ask you guys how you oh yes, we have that right there. I
yeah,
want to
I
ask you
thought I should
guys
grab that. Yeah.
um uh if you think Marietta is jealous of Lula and her relationship with Sailor, maybe.
Uh, I'm gonna say yes. Yeah. What do you think, Jinwei? Is she jealous of her daughter?
Yeah, I also think so.
What exactly is she jealous about? What aspect? Well, I guess either of you guys. What aspect of Lula makes Marietta jealous? What do you think?
I'll uh I'll go first, I guess. Um I mean, Wild at Heart, a lot of it is about family at its core. And Lula, we see mainly her family. You know, we see Marietta, we see her cousin Dell, played by Crispin Glover, which is an interesting character that we'll also get into. But I think Marietta is jealous of Lula because it reminds her of her youth.
Hmm.
Um, and there's a point in the movie where Lula says that Sailor reminds her of her dad, and then she sort of compares herself to her mom in that. And I think Marietta's sort of jealous because she's seeing her daughter grow up, and she's like, this is showing that I'm past that part of my life where I could be young and free and beautiful no matter what. Um, and you even see that when she, you know, propositions Sailor in the bathroom, like, don't you want to fuck Lula's mama?
Hmm.
Um, and I don't think it's because she actually feels, an attraction to Sailor. I think it's just because she's trying to prove to herself that I am still desirable, even if my daughter is now what I once was. I still got it. I still got Johnny Farragut and Marcelo Santos on my side. I still got it. I'm still hot. I can, and she's just trying to prove to herself over and over. And so in trying to, liberate herself, she purposely, tries to trap Lula.
Hmm. Yeah, I get the impression that Marietta was, especially when she was younger, was really able to wrap guys around her finger, right? Because I mean, she's still kind of doing it now, right? And yeah.
In the book, it even mentions that she won a beauty pageant when she was younger.
Hmm. Yeah, that fits in. I would say. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Um, okay, and last time when we talked about both of you guys said that you thought your favorite character was Johnny, right? And yeah, I thought that was kind of fascinating. So, Jinwei, why do you like Johnny so much?
Um, I think the reason, like, why I said it is because, firstly, I think Johnny's character is like the only male character in this movie that doesn't go with the whole tough cool guy vibe. Like, he really is like on the opposite was, for example, like Sailor and Marcelo and like Bobby Peru. Like, he's just like a totally different guy and kind of like out of the situation in this whole movie. And the other reason is because I just like this actor's performance. Like, I really like his Paris, Texas. So like the moment when he showed up in this movie, I just started to like focus. I wouldn't say like focus, but like pay more attention to him. So yeah, that's my reasons.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Elle, your thoughts on Johnny?
I mean, it's a similar thing. He's sort of completely separated from the rest of the characters and the way he treats this movie, or he sees himself in this movie as it's sort of being like a sleuth, a detective, a noir, and his performance is much more natural than the other people in the movie, and I think that sort of drew my attention to him. And also because he's the only person who, especially with the men, who isn't violent. Like, we never see him at the aggressive side of things. We only see him passively taking violence or passively viewing it on the television when he's in the hotel room with the animals. But we never see him, point angrily at the camera or try to shoot somebody or anything. He's just always in his own mind. And even in the book, he's this sort of failed writer. Not failed writer, but he just thinks of these ideas and writes them down and never shows anyone. And I think that sort of introspective nature of him, where he's just very timid, I think something about that is appealing, especially when a lot of the other characters are, very loud about who they are. They wear jackets showing who they are. They yell to the world, "This is who I am," whereas Johnny is just like doesn't yell it to the world, he whispers it to himself at best.
That's a that's a good way to phrase it. They're loud about who they are. And when you said that, I immediately thought of, Bobby Peru always referring to himself in the third person, right? So it's yeah. Well, since you guys brought it up, what the scene where Marietta covers her entire face with lipstick, what does that mean? Why does she do that? Any theories? What do you think, Jingwei? The infamous scene where Marietta covers her entire face with lipstick. Well, what's that all about?
Hmm. I did enjoy watching that scene. I just thought this really like visually striking, but I think I don't really have a deep theory about what this is about. I
Hmm,
just feel like it's kind of shows like she's like the state of her like sense or like mental. So yeah, I don't really got a
hmm,
deep theory.
sure. All right, Al, any ideas about this?
I also agree. It's like this is one of the first things that I think about when I think of Wild at Heart. Like if I'm imagining something, it's the aggressive pointing scene,
Hmm,
and yeah, and those are like the big things I really think about, and maybe Bobby Peru's teeth because those are horrendous.
hmm,
But looking at it like in a still image, she looks really devilish in this, doesn't she?
hmm,
She looks really evil. And also throughout the movie, she's compared to the Wicked Witch, who is all green, and in this she's all red, which is, the opposite. So it's sort of interesting because she's sort of I'm saying sort of a lot, but she's putting herself into this role and she's doing it with something that is used to make yourself, beautiful. She's using lipstick to do it instead of like paint or an aggressive amount of blush. She's using lipstick and she's going outside of the lines very aggressively. And I think it is showing up her mental state. It is visually striking, and it is also sort of how she feels about her beauty and all that. And I think it wraps really nicely, and it's also really Lynchy. So
yeah.
that's always good, always a good treat.
Um, so I think it's something of what we were saying about how, like, when she was young, she was very beautiful. And I think so maybe like in those days, all she needed was a bit of lipstick, right? Just freshen up her lips to kind of get what she wants and to like control men and everything, right? Um, but that power is kind of fading. And like in this scene, instead of just putting it on her lips, she feels she has to put it over her whole face to like achieve that level of power, and she still can't, right? So she's going insane, I guess.
She's chasing the dragon of beauty, but
Yeah.
no lipstick is enough.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
In her mind, at least. I think she looks great throughout the movie, but you
Mm,
can't control what you think of yourself
mm.
much.
Okay. All right. Well, as I mentioned, I wanted to talk about a few of the scenes from the movie. Um, And one that I wanted to talk about is early in the movie. Well, when Sailor Lula goes to pick Sailor up at prison, right? And their very first conversation, she has his jacket. Oh, you brought my snakeskin jacket. Yeah, and he gets to introduce the jacket. And then they say that, that night, the band Power Mad is playing at the Hurricane, right? And yeah, so they're excited to go to that. Um, and it's great that we get to see their night out. And I like how it transitions into this scene, right? So Sailor and Lula are in the hotel room, right? Going at it again, and then I think they have one of their bizarre conversations. And then Taylor or Sailor says something like, "Are those nails about dry? Are your toenails about dry? We got to go dancing, right?" And then he does like some power pose, and then she starts jumping on the bed, right? Like you see her feet kind of hammering on the bed, and then it transitions to like people's feet dancing at the Power Mad show, right? So I think the whole transition, I think, is very interesting, right? And there's something very surreal about this concert because it's like a thrash metal concert, and for one thing, there would be no women there. I mean, if it was a real Power Mad concert, it would be all guys in black t-shirts. There would not be a bunch of women there. And I think even the way people,
Majority women.
yeah, in this scene, yeah, in the Lynch world. And I think even the way people are dancing is kind of like different from how it would be. Like everything is very amplified in an interesting way. Yeah, even I think you could see here in this still, there's a guy who might be the guy that he ends up, challenging. He's doing some kind of dog crawl across the floor, like while he's headbanging, right? And the way Sailor is dancing, just indiscriminately throwing karate kicks, right? I mean, that's so dangerous, right? If you're just randomly kicking people on the dance floor. Like, I don't know. Like, I mean, he just looks everything just looks so out of control um, going into this scene. I think it's rather impressive, right? Um, and of course, the interaction, right? A guy brushes up against Lula, right? Sailor just raises his fist, and immediately the band stops playing, and everyone in the club like turns and looks at Sailor to see what he has to say. So he's this weird in this weird world. Sailor is like some authority figure that everyone immediately responds to because the band's not even looking at him when he raises his fist. That's what's funny about it because he has so much influence and power that as soon as he does that, the whole scene just stops, right? And he confronts the poor guy who brushed up against Lula. So yeah, I really think for me, there's a lot going on in this scene, and I feel like it's Lynch delivering the goods, delivering the Lynchian items through Nicolas Cage, wearing that outfit, doing that crazy dance, the music and how everyone's dancing. Like I just think there's a lot going on, and I like the exchange between him and the guy. Like even after he kind of beats the guy up, but he holds off on doing that, and then he just tells the guy to go get a beer and take it easy. Like everything, he's like I don't know, he's acting like he's like a camp counselor or something. Like it's just really really funny. So I don't know. What did you guys think of that scene?
I love it. And I actually I have the because he when he raises his fist to silence the band, then he that's what transitions into him singing "Love Me," which I also think is funny and dreamlike because oh yeah, Power Mad is just knows intrinsically how to play this Elvis song, of
Yeah, yeah,
course. Not even like the most popular, just like, oh yeah, love me, yeah, let me just tune it really quick.
yeah, yeah,
And I
yeah,
think that's hilarious. And I think I have that downloaded and I play it so much. Play that cover so much because I love it. And another thing I love about it is when he starts singing, there's this same scream sound effect that plays like over and over and over again. And it's hilarious. And I also, when you were mentioning how Sailor is dancing, I don't know if y'all have seen this show, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but one of the characters just dances like this, like just karate chopping, and it's so absurd and hilarious because it's like, trying to look intimidating, but you just look like you're doing the chicken dance sort of. And I really love this scene for all the reasons you said, and also just because it's so fun. And that's one of my favorite things is there's a lot of just fun scenes.
Hmm. What do you think, Jinwei? The power mad scene.
I also agree with what you guys said. Like, I personally also find this scene kind of like comical when watching it. And also, like, when I was watching it, actually, for a long time, I thought like this, like, knowing David Lynch, I thought this is gonna be his, like, hallucination or something like that. Like, the whole, because it's just like really, I don't know, like, as you said, it's kind of surreal, like, how he just raised his hand and the van just followed his orders and he just got the guy like protect his woman from the bad guy and him being the hero saving her. Like this whole thing, like during a long time during the movie, I just thought like it's gonna be something he imagined. Like there was a time during the movie I thought like there's a point he's gonna wake up in jail and this is all like he
Ah,
dreamed of. Yeah.
okay. Okay. Yeah, I see what you mean. It's kind of so over the top, it seems like a dream, possibly a dream sequence. Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm. All right. And Lula kind of seems delighted by the whole scene, right? Kind of watching how Sailor does this. Yeah, so it's mm. Got it. Okay, well, let's see. Last time we talked, both you guys seemed like you wanted to discuss the car crash, okay, that happens about halfway through the movie. Okay, it's a road movie. They're driving from North Carolina, Cape Fear, right? The Cape Fear area to California. Okay. And they stop off in Big Tuna, Texas. And I think it's before they get to Big Tuna. It's like halfway through the movie, right? This car crash scene involving Sherilyn Fenn, who we know from Twin Peaks, and car accidents happen in David Lynch movies, right? In Mulholland Drive, I think there's at least one, if not many, in Twin Peaks. What? All right. So what does the car crash scene mean to you guys? Okay. Okay, Elle, what do you think?
I sort of see it as the turning point of the movie because before this, it's pretty much all fun and games. It's pretty much all, you know, just a road trip, having fun, hanging out, listen to some tunes. But as soon as this scene starts, like it's before right before the car crash scene, it's Lula is driving and she's trying to find a radio station, and all she hears is like stories of violent crimes and like children like dying and all these just like terrible, sad, depressing things. And then she sees her mother, she imagines her mother as the Wicked Witch following her and Sailor. And then, there's a bit of a break, and then it goes to this car crash scene, and it sort of just immediately takes you out of like, that sort of lighthearted feeling, that sort of surreal feeling, because the acting, I love the acting in this. The girl in the car crash, because she's not like, oh my gosh, my head is bleeding, and I was just in a car crash. She's focusing on mundane things like, I lost my bobby pin. My mom's gonna kill me. I lost her bobby pin in my wallet. What am I gonna do without my wallet? And she doesn't even really register. She doesn't even focus on, you know how close to death she is. And I think Lula, when she sees this, part of her, distress is because, she's seeing a girl dying in front of her. And then part of her distress is that it sort of parallels what could happen to her. Because this girl was in a car with a guy, Robbie, who seems to see probably is like her boyfriend or something, and she's a young girl and she's worried about her mother finding out about this. And that's sort of what Lula is doing with Sailor, is that she's on this car trip, this road trip, and she's worried about her mother finding her. Um, and it's just sort of, wakes her up to, oh God, what if this happens to me? And then with the rest of the movie, she's sort of uneasy. She's sort of like thinking, and you see that especially like at the Big Tuna. There's not a moment where she's really having fun. She's always just sort of letting the reality of the situation sink in, and it's the car crash is very much a bad omen, turning point, all that, and I think it's great.
Hmm. Lula says that too. Doesn't she say something about it being a bad omen? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Hmm. All right. Let's see. Jinwei, what were your thoughts on this?
Um, yeah, I basically agree with what Al just said. And when I was watching it, I mainly think of like, cause the girl kept on repeating about like her mother. So yeah, I think like that's the point where like I associate her with Lula more. Like, uh,
Okay. And so I guess Lula kind of identified with um, the girl, and in a way, it almost woke Lula up to the uncertainty or the danger of her own situation. Would you say?
yeah.
Hmm. All right. Okay. So they continue on to Big Tuna, right, where they meet some interesting people, and certainly the most interesting would be Bobby Dupree. No, I'm sorry, Bobby Peru. And I think this was the first time I saw Willem Dafoe in a movie, right? A young Willem Dafoe. And yeah, I would say a very unforgettable performance. Um, so let's see. L, what kind of guy is Bobby Peru?
Just straight up evil and nasty. Like the way he looks, you immediately see him and he looks like a villain in an old Western, with that black jacket with the tassels and his greasy hair and that little, it kind of looks like a pencil drawn on mustache. Very, very classic bad guy. And one of the things like I can't forget about are his teeth. His teeth, and it's mentioned that he's a Vietnam veteran, and there was this form of torture that they did against US soldiers where they would file their teeth down. So that's something I thought of when I saw those teeth. But like visually he's very evil looking, and then in every scene it's impossible to sympathize with him, which I think is nice because it's refreshing because it's just a bad person in every aspect. So it's nice to have like a true villain because Marietta, you can sympathize with her a bit, and then Sailor and Lula, they have like some aspects that aren't perfect about them. So there's no like perfect moral character, but to have this completely evil person really puts into perspective, and then you're like, oh, okay, this guy's crazy, and a
Mm,
great performance too.
mm-hmm. All right, Jinwei, Bobby Peru. What do you think?
Um, I think yeah, he's like definitely like a really interesting character, and I also like the performance. And I actually like I do feel like him and Sailor are like the same like similar type of guy. Like he's like the more invasive and the more crude version of Sailor. I kind of see him that way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like a bit older, or maybe like the way Sailor would be if he had gone to Vietnam and had traumatic experiences, maybe.
I guess just like every aspect of Sailor being more extreme.
Ah, okay. And Wait, Jingwei, was it you who last time you said when Lula first sees Bobby Peru that night they're hanging out at Big Tuna at the trailer park, you think there's a kind of like Lula has a certain reaction to Bobby?
Yes, I said that last time, but like I kind of think it through and actually I kind of like changed my mind. I wouldn't say like Lula is like personally attracted to Bobby Peru, but I feel like it's more like Lula kind of because as I just said, I see Sailor and Bobby Peru as the same kind of person. So I don't know. I feel like Lula might realize that at that point as well. Like he kind of sees what like the things she's attracted to on Sailor, like how those things can turn into if it's like being more extreme and just like exaggerated.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah.
So so maybe she's thinking if I stay with Sailor, he's gonna slowly turn into this guy. Is that what you mean?
Not really what I meant. Just like, mm, I think it's not really about Sailor, but like about Lula realizing like herself, like what, like those, seeing those traits she's attracted to more, like she see them like clearly, I would say.
Okay.
Not
Hmm.
Like
really about
seeing
Sailor
seeing
or Bobby Peru.
seeing the traits she's attracted to, but taken to like the ugly side of things instead of just being
Yeah.
a guy who, is a manslaughter. It's a guy who's actively trying to murder people and sort of like
Yeah.
teetering like what is too much.
Mm.
Hmm. Okay. So he's kind of a car crash in his own way. I mean, I don't know, something that
Mm.
Lula sees that kind of makes her think more about her own situation. Would you
I
say?
think, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like that's more my point. Like made her think about herself more instead of like just about Sailor or like Bobby Peru.
Hmm. Okay. All right. All right. And then of course the scene where Bobby Peru enters Lula's room when Sailor isn't there and propositions her, to say the least, right? So Al, what are your thoughts on this scene?
Why this scene is really something because I mean one of the big complaints people have about Wild at Heart is the way it sort of portrays, you know, sexuality in both like the abuse and on the opposite side of that. Um, I think it's interesting because this scene is not in the book, and I think it's really interesting because it's like so bizarre the way he comes in. He's like all of his lines of dialogue are weird, but I especially like was just like what when he said, "Can I use your head?" and Lula is just completely silent, and then he's like, "Not your head, silly. I'm in your bathroom." As like she would think otherwise, and he's very presumptuous because Lula the whole time she's just sort of keeping to herself. She says, "You use my bathroom now, get out." But but Bobby just keeps, getting closer and closer and becoming more aggressive and more aggressive. And Lula sort of like shuts down in this scene. And instead of taking that as like, okay, I'll back away, he just takes it as I'll get closer and closer because she's not backing up. So that means that I am in the right and that she wants to hop with little Jackrabbit, which is what he calls himself, the Jackrabbit.
Hmm.
I think it's a very interesting scene, and there's a lot to say about it.
I mean, so he even says something like, "Oh, you moved away slowly," right?
You're supposed to jump fast, bunny jump fast.
Yeah. He's like, and that means something to me, right? Like it's yeah, pretty creepy. Um, Jinwei, what do you think?
Mm, yeah, like. I said I kind of like reconsidered this scene, and it occurs to me that like Lula's reaction are kind of like reminds me of like dissociation. Like I don't know, like maybe it's like this thing like triggered her past trauma or like things like that. So that's why she isn't reacting because like when people kind of like dissociate like by like triggered trauma, I feel like yeah, they're kind of like unable to like do a really like strong or like just really striking reaction or like yeah, so that's kind of like my idea of it, of her reaction.
So it's like a defense mechanism type reaction, you think?
I guess, yeah, maybe.
Hmm. Okay. Um, yeah, it's like the more I think about this scene, the more curious it gets. Like, there's no reason he has to come into that room to go to the bathroom there. He's at a hotel, right? I mean,
Yes.
there's other opportunity. There's no reason you would have to go into someone's private room to use their bathroom. I'm sure there's a public toilet nearby. Um, I don't know. I don't. Was it right for Lula to answer the door dressed as she like? I don't you think she should have been a bit more careful also? Um, I don't know. Hell, what are your thoughts on that? Hmm.
I really liked what you said, Jingwei, about like dissociating because you put the word into my mind of like how to describe it properly. And I mean, yeah, I also think it's weird because Sailor is like right outside the room just fixing the car. Is he really that entranced in, taking out the and changing the oil that he doesn't notice Bobby Peru, coming up and knocking on the door?
Hmm.
Um, and I also think Lula is ne really never fully dressed when she's at Big Tuna. Like she's always just lounging in her room, sort of just like there, sort of in a just a st- I don't know, just passive state. Like she's sleeping. She's asleep to the scenario happening outside of the hotel room because I mean this is where we learn that she is pregnant. Um, and I think I don't know how to feel about this scene because the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, well, I didn't consider that, and I
Hmm.
didn't consider this, and it just becomes really complicated, the whole thing, and you're like, well, it doesn't seem like it's hard to defend really any of these characters in this moment, at least, but the one that is, most obviously doing the harm is Bobby Peru. But you can make an argument for, Sailor and Lula that they should have acted in a different way. But I think it's also difficult because that sort of gets into, victim blaming of like, oh, well, you should have done this. Oh, well, you should have answered the door.
Hmm.
Maybe you should have put a robe on. Maybe you should have jumped away faster,
Hmm.
you know? And then it's like, well, can you really say that when she was just in the moment trying not to get hurt, if that makes sense?
Hmm. Sure. Um, yeah, and I think I said last time I consider this the most important scene in the movie, but I don't know. I can't exactly explain why I mean it, but it's a very thought-provoking scene, and the performance is amazing, and huh. Uh, like part of me thinks, I guess maybe like the first time I saw this, I almost expected like Lula to just kick his ass, you know? Because she's tough in her way too, right? I mean, I guess I was kind of surprised that she does kind of give in to this guy. I mean, wouldn't you think she'd just kind of like kick him in the nuts or something? Like I would think she'd be able to take charge of this situation in some way. So for me, it was kind of surprising that she doesn't. Um, I don't know. Am I am I making sense?
Yeah.
Uh, okay. Well, let's see. Any more thoughts on this, or shall we move forward?
Move forward, I suppose.
Okay. Do. So, I think I just like to ask, since it's a rather old movie, right? 36 years old. Um, would you guys like recommend this to your friends? Or how has it aged? I mean, how does it hit you, right? So as I said, I was 18 when it came out. I thought it was exciting and dynamic and stylish and fun, thought-provoking, blah blah blah. What what do you think overall? Okay. All right, Jinwei, how about you? You can go first. What are your overall thoughts on David Lynch's Wild at Heart?
Well, um, I feel like to me is actually like really retro. Like but yeah, I still think like this style and everything is like it's stylish and I like it. And about like whether I would recommend this to my friend, I I'm not sure, like I'm not really sure. But I guess like if someone is interested in I don't know, just like this whole like this wild atmosphere, then I guess yeah, but like normally like for most of the people, like my friend my age, I'm not so sure about that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think this would be a good one to discuss in class, the way we discussed train spotting? Do you think it would work as well?
Um I guess yeah, perhaps like maybe.
Hmm. Could be. So L, what do you think? So for you, and would you watch it with friends? Would you recommend it to friends?
Well, I mean, most of the people I talk about movies with uh probably saw it when it came out or close to then, so they would probably be like, "Oh yeah, I love that." And I feel like one of the things is that when I watched this for the first time, I wasn't going into it thinking, "Okay, this is a Nicolas Cage movie. Oh, okay, this is a David Lynch movie." And I think sometimes I see this recommended online, and that's what people market it as. It's like, oh, Nicolas Cage and David Lynch in one movie. What? And it's like, okay, yeah, sure. But if you just look at it in that very, like, go into it expecting a specific thing, expecting a specific performance or specific vibe, you're gonna be disappointed. And that's what I think about with a lot of movies. If you put up your expectations to a certain degree, you're always going to be unsatisfied. So I think watch it if you want to watch it and try something new. And I would recommend it to anyone because I recommend most movies unless they're particularly bad, which since I watch a lot of Nicolas Cage movies, there's plenty of those. We don't want to talk about 211, not today. Um, and I think maybe the next thing we could talk about is sort of like how it aged because there are some like problem could be problematic aspects of this movie. So I was wondering, because we talked about that a bit last time, what y'all thought of that and how it handles these things.
Okay, so Nicolas Cage uses a derogatory term for homosexual males at the end of the movie, right? Um, yeah, and by our 2026 standards, it's kind of shocking to hear that word just kind of lightheartedly used in a movie. Um, hmm. Well, I mean, I mean, I think it is problematic, and that's why we don't use that word anymore. So, I mean, I feel like, uh, Yeah, I mean, I think just looking back at old media, it's kind of like sometimes you're going to encounter stuff like that. Things that were bad and they should have been phased out and they have been phased out. So yeah, I mean, I think it would be an overreaction to say nobody should watch this movie because it uses that word, right? And and the character even apologizes for using the word in a way. We talked about it last time, but I don't know. So in that regard,
Yeah.
um, and okay, what the Jinwei other like possibly problematic aspects of the film and how they've aged.
Mm.
Yeah, so that term was definitely one. And I don't know, I feel like if the movie was released like now, um, because I did set like, so part of Lula was kind of portrayed as a really like just always like waiting and like forgiving girlfriend character. So I don't know. I think like maybe nowadays, because like I wouldn't say it's problematic, but kind of I don't know. People might talk about that aspect more, I guess. Like maybe
Th
I don't know.
that Lula is too submissive in a way, I guess, subservient.
Yeah, kind of like especially when she's with Sailor, like and how she sees Sailor. I don't know. It's not like problematic, but I just feel like people might discuss about that.
Mm, okay. And Al, what
It's
are
not
your
like it
yeah.
aged like
Hmm,
my view. I was gonna say like with Lula's character, it's not like people always online they say like, oh, this aged like fine wine or oh, this aged like milk. This movie sort of aged like trail mix. Like it's just the same, and there's some parts of it that are a bit worse, and there's some parts of it that are a bit better with time. And there's some parts that were just little nuggets of rotten yogurt, which is probably the F word scene.
hmm,
Um, but I mean, one of the a big aspect of Wild at Heart, both the movie and the novel is sexual assault, and a lot of critics, well, were critical of how it's portrayed and depicted in the movie and how the female characters are portrayed in general, especially with that Mr. Ranger scene, like the topless. I mean, that one's weird with a Pepto-Bismol, but I much prefer the how the movie goes about it. And I think even the movie goes about it in a more careful way than some movies nowadays do with, sexual assault and rape. And the movie is much better than the book. And I think part of that is thanks to like the book was written by a man, Barry Gifford or Gifford, or I don't know. And I think the reason that, in the movie it's much more palatable is because Laura Dern and Diane Ladd are able to, put perspective into the performances. But I think one of the main things is that in the book, when Lula's telling Sailor about getting assaulted by Uncle Pooch, in the book, Sailor, when he hears this, he doesn't react like, "Oh, honey, that's awful." He gets a hard on, and that is very weird. Like the book aged much worse than the movie. And I mean, like the movie in general is a lot more optimistic and dreamlike. You can just look at the ending, because in the book they don't get back together. In the end, there is no love me tender or the good witch.
hmm,
Um, in the book, everything is a bit less. Like the relationship between Sailor and Lula, they don't love each other, they just like each other. Um, and I mean, we didn't really talk about Crispin Glover's performance as cousin Dell with the Santa outfit and making the sandwiches. But
hmm.
in the book, the only thing the only crazy thing he does is he makes sandwiches in the middle of the night one night. so he's much more of a character you could encounter in real life, but in the book he's also the one who assaults and impregnates his Lula, whereas in the movie it's implied to be Uncle Pooch, and that sort of makes it almost too real. The fact that I feel like all the characters in the book are just too real in a way, and I feel like in the movie they play up these aspects in a way that it makes it more enjoyable to watch and makes it more like fiction instead of just watching something that could happen and happens all the time. And I enjoyed both, but I feel like the movie aged much better, and I feel like fulfills a different craving for me, and I think I like returning to the movie more than I like returning to the book.
Hmm. Okay. All right. Well, what do you guys think? Should we wrap up on that note? Yeah. Okay. So I'll stop the recording now. Okay. So all right, Jinwei, thanks for joining us again. You don't have to
Yeah.
sign off. I'm just stopping the recording. And yeah, Al, thanks for joining us again. Okay, great discussion today. And yeah, thanks to everyone for watching. That's a wrap.